Today's topic of the video is, why do our parents betray us? Well, I think it's because they betray themselves. Because if you betray yourself, you betray everything around you, because we project what we believe ourselves to be and what we are onto the world around us. We cannot really avoid it. You can only, I guess, realize it and be okay with it. But okay, if our parents really betray us, I'm not saying it happens all the time, or that they betray themselves, but it happens in today's day and age, and it has been happening in quite large numbers for a long time. Also, I hope the wind is not too bad. But I believe it has been happening for definitely a couple centuries at least. Yes, I wasn't alive back then, I believe, but still I believe it did, or has been happening for that long at least, because of, the people that are pulling the strings and making society in such a way where it's difficult for your soul to, or the human values to be preferred, to be implemented. And there's no time basically to stand up for what your soul needs, what your well-being needs the most. And at some point, many people forget that these things should be mandatory, and then they wonder, why is it that they feel dissatisfied or frustrated, or that something is lacking, and so on. It's so sad to me, because, well, it shouldn't happen. We should know, or we should be aware of what we need the most, and we should follow it. But that's not what seems to be happening, at least based on my observations around the world. It's really trauma. It's really conditioning. It's really what everything really comes down to. That's a lot of really, but it really is that way. Even though it's your choice still to become the way you chose to be. But if you're, when you're growing up, if you're not even like a teenager yet, you kind of want to, because we are supposed to be able to trust the world around us, It's not like we want to believe that if somebody is older, for example, that they would know more. No, we just want to believe everyone, because when you are a child, when you're pure, unfiltered, then you project that onto the world around you as well, and thus you believe everything else is just like that. That everything else says nothing and does nothing but truthful actions, or says truthful words. Everybody would follow the truth, but that's not really the case, because people betray themselves because of fear. It really comes down to fear of death, because you wouldn't be able to satisfy the conditions that people told you you would need to satisfy to mean something. Yeah. I guess that's why we buy into it. Because we believe everybody is telling the truth. And if so many people that are telling the truth, or you believe so at least, are telling you something that you may not completely agree with, but, all of them seem to be very, convinced that that is the case, then you will be more inclined to believe them and accept it. Yeah. And the more crucial it is for you to get along in the environment you are, the more likely you will accept it, at least on some level. And if you already accept it at some level, well, it's going to become much easier to accept it at a higher level. And yeah, and that acceptance, if it becomes unconscious after some time, after repetition, after enough intensity has been or has taken place, then it's going to be really difficult to undermine or root out that belief that functions actually in practice and in reality against you. That's why, I don't know how a label is there for it, but when you manipulate someone in such a way where they don't really know what they're signing up for, and they kind of like what's going on, but they don't really know, they don't see the bigger picture. When you don't let them know the bigger, when they don't know what the bigger picture is, that is when the manipulation, if your goal is to convince them of something, then that's going to be much more difficult to break away from later on, because it's going to become unconscious. And that's where all the trauma is, that's where all the pent-up emotions are, and so many people, everybody basically functions on unconscious patterns or processes that they've developed at some point, and they are not aware. We're not aware. It's not like you have to be, but if it's not beneficial for you, the way you are utilizing these processes, then it's best to make it conscious, to realize that it's actually not good for you, and change it to something that is good for you, and then make that unconscious, and then function on that. But back to the topic of, so why do our parents betray us, right? Why do people, betray themselves? Well, yeah, because of fear. But why do parents betray their children? The better question is, why do parents keep on betraying the children? Why do they not change? Why do they not feel the need to change for the sake of their children? Some do. Some change because of their children, and some, manage to do it early enough so that it makes enough of a difference in the life quality of their children, where it would be a kind of commendable, even though it's expected. That's the thing. At least in my view, it's one thing to betray yourself, but if you betray your children, I think that's even worse, because those children, like, they're, you're the closest beings to them, as a parent, or closest being to them as a parent. So the most reliance, the most kind of low responsibility goes to you. And if you, instead of pursuing their best interests, pursue your own ego, then you betray them. You shouldn't have any ego. Ego is bad. So my conclusion is that it is unforgivable for a parent to betray their children. At any point, it just is. I'm not saying you should hate them, because I believe many people would be inclined to feel like when I say something is unforgivable, that somebody deserves to be hated for it. No, I actually don't really believe in hate. I believe hate itself is always irrelevant. Hate does nothing for you, really. It just reflects how you feel about yourself internally. But once you solve that out, then there's no need for it at all. You'll see it yourself. So I find hate as misplaced emotion. I don't really know what's the point of it, except find out that it's actually pointing towards you and nothing else. I don't think it's to be forgiven. I believe your parents should know, if they screwed you over, that, hey, you screwed me over. I did not deserve that. And they should be, if they have your best interest in mind right now, they will admit it. They will own up to it, and they'll do their best to be the best version of themselves from now on, if they haven't up until now. But even if they will become the best version of themselves, it's still, not forgivable, because it's in the past. It doesn't relate to how they are now. What they are now has nothing. Oh, a lot of insects that are quite pointy in the back, I guess. Yeah. It's not forgivable, not in my opinion. It shouldn't be forgiven. You can get along with them because, again, it has nothing to do with their current version of themselves. It has everything to do with the past. And these things have to be sorted out because of the emotions that have to be addressed, both on your part and on theirs. Well, I hope that answers it.